Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Men's Talk, where it is sizzling, hot, interactive, and transforming. On today's conversation, we are going to be looking at forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Why do we? Why do you need to forgive yourself? How are you going to forgive yourself? Then is it a must to forgive yourself? As we dive into today's conversation, I have with me my co hosts, Dr. Femi Samuel. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, viewers. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're enjoying our weekend.
So, when we go to those three areas, why, how, and is it a must to forgive yourself? Let's go to why. What are those things that can make one struggle with self forgiveness?
Thank you very much, host. Sometimes life throws some things at us that will make us feel uh, we've hurt ourselves or we've done something wrong and we need to forgive ourselves. Like, there are reasons why uh, people can struggle to forgive themselves. One of them is has to do with the wrong you've done to other people. Maybe you hurt other people and you feel that what you
Are you still there, sir? Are you still there, sir? I think there's an issue with his network. Let me go on why
am I
you
audible?
what are okay. Yeah, now we can
Am
now
I
hear
audible?
you. Loud and clear, sir.
Yes, I just want to be sure. So why you should forgive yourself? Hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Hope I'm audible, please. Am I?
Loud and clear, we can hear you.
So I say sometimes life could happen to one, and somehow you might have wronged yourself. What I mean wrong yourself is that maybe you've taken a decision that is affecting you negatively. You've been involved in some activities, you've exposed your body to some things, illicit drugs and all those things. You are involved in things that makes you feel you've wronged yourself. And you may just be blaming yourself all through life. Another thing is for you to hurt someone else. You have hurt someone unjustly, and you know that it's an avoidable thing. You may also need to forgive yourself. The third one I want to talk about is life setback. People can have a setback in life. Taking a
We can hear you again.
I've talked about hello. Yes,
Yes,
I've
you
talked
talked
about
about
you
maybe
wronging
you've done
yourself,
wrong to someone else, yourself, and you were on the
someone else,
third
and you
one you
feel
said.
unjustly. So you may need to on the third one is that On the third one is that maybe what you've taken a decision that is causing you a setback. A setback is that you resign from a high-paying job just in a pursuit for greener pasture, and discover that the pasture is not green, and it's really hurting you. You may still need to
Hmm.
forgive yourself.
Hmm. Are you still there, sir? Are you still there, sir? We cannot hear you. We can't hear you. I'm not sure if the viewers at home can actually hear Dr. Samuel, but he has spoken about, we are talking about what are those things that can make one struggle with forgiveness. So he mentioned the fact that you could have done wrong to somebody and that is making you feel bad, and that may lead to having to have problem with forgiving yourself. Then it could be against yourself. Probably you've done something wrong against yourself. Okay. Oh, so I think he's having issue with his network. So can we go on?
Am I
You
audible?
mentioned, yes, loud and clear. When you hurt someone else. The second one, when um
The first one is when you hurt yourself. Second one is
okay,
hurting someone else. Third one has to do with third one has to do with
life setback.
hello.
That maybe you have taken, you said that maybe you have taken decisions that is affecting you negatively. Probably in your career, you have decided to resign or change of job, which at the
Yes,
end of the day, it seems it was a
change of
wrong
job and
decision.
back and it was a wrong decision. The third one is having gift of hindsight. Sometimes because we are human, we may not see into the future, but after a while, we notice that when we get to that future, we now notice there are some decisions we will have taken better. Some of them is believing that you marry the wrong person, believing that you pick up the wrong appointment, or maybe you just feel that you have taken a better decision if you had known. Whereas the last one is high expectation. Most of the time, because of our society, most of us have high expectation of ourselves. So because you couldn't meet up, like it's even better here. In the Western world, people go to exam, they fail their exam, and the next thing is they want to end their life because they feel they've actually failed themselves. So any one of these could make you to hold on with unforgiving spirit, not against someone this time around, but against yourself. Because you believe that you fail yourself with all that you could have done better. And believing me, if you could be bitter about someone else, you could actually be bitter about yourself. I know of a man that was living freely, having in a free relationship, contacted HIV, infected the wife. He later know that the man was one that infected. The man was bitter also. He couldn't forgive himself, even though despite the fact that his wife has forgiven him, that well, let them live with the cross. He keeps referring to the fact that if he has not started this lifestyle, maybe he wouldn't have ended up taking drug for the rest of his life. So there are times in which you feel you've hurt yourself and you just need to sit down and forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, how will other people and God forgive you?
Then, can we talk about the emotion that someone struggling with self forgiveness we had to deal with? What are those likely emotional issues that might come up with struggling with self forgiveness? Can you still hear me? It's frozen here. I don't know if it's frozen over there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? In case you can hear me, I'll have
So
to
that
go out. Okay.
I can
I
hear
wanted to
you.
go out and come in. Is it frozen over there? It's frozen here.
It's not frozen. I can hear you.
Okay. Can you see
There are
me?
some
Is my
emotions that will come up
camera moving?
clearly. Yes, clearly. I can see you
It's
clearly.
frozen here. So
So emotion.
it's frozen. It's been
Oh, sorry
frozen
about that.
since 7 minutes here. Okay, we can go on.
Oh, sorry about that. So some emotion that will come up. Someone could have self guilt. There could be depression, self judgment. Uh, there could be self condemnation. When you start having feeling that you've done wrong and the wrong in which you've done cannot be atoned for. It can even go as far as deliberate self-harm, which is suicide. Because when someone is depressed over a time, you start thinking of deliberate self-harm. You want to harm himself because he believes that what does he really even worth? Is there anything worth living for? So any one of these things could come up when someone is feeling when someone is having problem forgiving himself, no motivation, there is depression, no inspiration, belief is a failure. So all this any of those things could come up as an emotional outburst whenever someone is having the feeling that he has not done well.
Can like self-judgment, low self-esteem be part of that? Could somebody struggling with forgiving add issue with low self-esteem?
Yes, low self-esteem. Perhaps low self-esteem, self-judgment, self unnecessary criticism of one's activity, lack of inspiration. There are things that could be. People have condemned themselves to the extent in which they believe taking one's life may be the next thing to do.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to how how do one forgive oneself? Then in forgiving oneself, we find that most of the time it has to do with denial at the initial stage. How do one deal with defensive feelings like denial and avoidance when it comes to forgiving oneself?
Thank you very much. Sometimes accepting one's faults, one's weaknesses, create room for God's strength. The first thing you must do is to accept the fact that what you've done is wrong. It is wrong. There is no other thing about it. The next thing you should now think about is that to err is human. Being human, because of your flesh, you are prone to making some mistakes. And this is just one of the mistakes in which you've made. The next thing is that what is your God disposition about people that have done wrong? Is it total condemnation or there is a way in which their mistakes could be atoned for? Whereas the fifth thing is to now say, well, if God in his wisdom, in his infinite wisdom, could look for a way in which our sins could be atoned for, how much more we? Why should we kill ourselves? Because as long as we on this earth, mistakes, error will come up. Those mistakes they varies from one point to another. Uh I have look someone said that most physicians carry a small grave in their mind. One time or the other, they lose patience, and it could be due to their fault. They could have made one or two mistakes and things didn't go on well. The problem will now be that is that in intention? What was their intention ab initio when they are carrying out that procedure? Those mistakes that occur were they real documented mistakes that will occur during those procedures? Because there is no way you will make mistake. There is no way you will hurt others, you will hurt yourself, you will take decision that is going to shape your life, that is going to affect your life. But in all this, are you able to forgive yourself? Just the mistake that you just need to forgive yourself. So there are stages of grief. When people start grieving, they start having denial, they start having anxiety, they start bargaining, acceptance, and they go to depression. Instead of now going to depression after passing through these stages, you can just face the reality of it. I have made a mistake. What is the way out? And there's always a way out. There is always a way out. So if you
There's
can
always
accept
a
the
way
fact that
out.
you've made a mistake, don't uh, sit at a point and start looking at your mistakes. You may have to continue. Even God told you. So
So how can taking
if you know there's always a
responsibility
way out, there will be a way
help
out
one in self
of what you think
forgiveness?
you've made a mistake. Last week when Mama Ariaje was talking to us, she made mention of taking responsibility is one of the major steps you need to take when you want to forgive yourself. You have to take responsibility for what has happened. That is the first thing. There will be a mistake, but
I'm
you face
frozen
it
here.
and
I
say,
want
yes,
to
I
exit
take
and
responsibility.
re-enter the studio.
What then?
Sorry about it.
How do I come out of what I call these mistakes? Because you cannot just keep yourself, okay. So you can't keep yourself in the prison of your mind all through the years, trying to punish yourself for the mistake you've made in the past. You've made that mistake, and people will still are still going to make more. So if you now condemn yourself, what do you want other people to do to you? So the best bet is that when mistake comes up, face the mistake, accept your mistake, and look for a way to make correction. If possible, if you need to make restitution, I mean restore your will, is better for you. If that will help you, it's better for you. But in a case in which you have now chosen not to forgive yourself, then you are keeping yourself in the prison of your own mind. And for how long will you continue to do this? If you've not forgiven yourself of the mistake you've
Yourself in
made
the
now,
prison of
you
your
will
own mind.
continue to make other mistakes. That means that you still have a lot of unforgiveness towards yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, how can someone who is struggling with self forgiveness because of hindsight bias, that is, I know it, why didn't I prevent it syndrome? How can that person find it easy to forgive himself or herself? Let's look at example, a girl that was raped and she felt that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone to their house, maybe
Sometimes
I should have
the
shouted,
hindsight bias,
maybe I should have hurt him. We can't hear you again, sir. We
hindsight
can't hear
bias,
you again.
sometimes we find
Okay.
ourselves in that lacuna in which you feel that what happened to you could have been prevented. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. We can't hear you
Sometimes
again. Okay,
we
now we
face
can hear you.
hindsight bias in which, because of what you know now, you feel that, hello, you feel that what you
We
know
can
now,
hear
that
you.
what happened to you could have been prevented if you have taken some proactive action. But that means that you are actually making yourself a deity. You are actually making yourself a deity if you think that you could have prevented it. There are some things you can't prevent no matter how much you do. So when life happens to you and you feel that you have an hint towards before that thing happen that is going to happen and it still happen to you, just take it that yes, this is a mistake. It's not you. You are not God. And because you are not God, you don't know more than today. And because you don't know more than today, even though you suspect it may happen, it has happened. That does not make you God. So you can't change what has happened. You just have to forgive yourself and continue. Because if you can avoid all the problem coming to you, if you know the question, that means you know the question that will be asked before exam. You read about it. There are some time in which you are going for an exam. Question that is going to be asked, something just coming to read this topic, and you get to the exam and you've not read it and you fail. You don't have to blame yourself for it. There may even be a level of training to learn how to trust your instinct. But be that as it may, because you are not God, you can't continue blaming yourself for perfect information about the future. You may have a little bit information, but not perfect. So you can't kill yourself.
So, in order for us to forgive ourselves, do we have certain mindsets that is needed on that journey to healing and self forgiveness? Do we have certain mindset that we need to imbibe so that it can be easy for us to get healed and to forgive ourselves?
Mamati, thank you. I think
Can you hear me?
thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. You need to be
Yeah.
kind to yourself. You need to be compassionate to yourself. Because if you are not kind to yourself, hello, if you are not kind to yourself, yes, loud and clear. If you are not kind to yourself and you are not compassionate, how are you able to forgive yourself? You need to be kind to yourself. You need to be compassionate to yourself. Because if you don't have these two things, and you also need to accept the fact that you are not a date, that
Accept the fact
you
that
for the
you're
fact that
not
you
a
made that
deity.
mistake, you hurt yourself,
You're
you will
human.
still make more mistake. And that the only thing that shows you that you are not, you are human. So you still have to forgive, and to err is human. So when you find yourself, be compassionate.
Okay, sir. Then how can we use fixing things or making amendments as tool in achieving self-forgiveness?
Thank you very much, Mama T. I can't hear you.
We can't hear you again. We cannot hear you again. We cannot hear you again.
Hello,
We cannot hear you again.
hello. Making amendment
Now
as a
we
tool.
can. Okay.
Most some religious setting and even our traditional religion believe that. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? What
Loud and
about
clear.
now? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we
I
can hear
know I
you
should be
now.
audible enough.
Yes.
Am I audible enough?
Yes.
So as I was saying that yes, question says how can we use the if I can get the question, I miss my train of thought while trying to answer the question. So our
Making
forefather believed
amendments as a tool to
that
achieving self
when you offend somebody,
forgiveness.
when you hurt somebody or you fault yourself, making amendments could go a long way in helping in healing. Like for instance, if you help somebody, yes, was and so if you feel it's an you make amendment, that's it.
You're breaking,
And
so I cannot actually hear
you
that.
feel that you are feeling
The
bad
last few statements.
about it
So I
and
don't know if it's from my hand.
talk about it. Some about it, making amendment, mending ways, mending offenses could go a long way in inducing proper and fast healing. Also have it at the back of your mind that despite the fact that against yourself, you need to be free. And for your conscience to be free, you need to make amendments. So, am I now?
It's
What
like
I've just said,
it's
making
breaking.
amendments
It's
will go a
breaking.
long way in because when you feel you've wronged somebody or someone has wronged you, or you feeling bad because you feel you've hurt somebody, even just that person's forgiveness alone could go a long way in inducing healing. So making amendments is an integral part of self-healing or forgiving oneself.
Okay.
Maybe it's my
As we move
network.
to the as to the to
I
the
think it's
net
my
to the
network.
third part on this discussion. Is it a must to forgive oneself? Is it a must to forgive oneself?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Loud and clear. Is it a must to forgive
Just as the
oneself?
same way that it's a must to love oneself, it's also it's also a must to forgive oneself. If you really love, if you really love oneself, then you should forgive yourself. So it's a must. Just yes, it's a must. Just as it is a must to love oneself, it's a must to forgive oneself. So forgiving
A must
oneself
to forgive oneself.
is
Okay.
just as good as loving oneself. So it's a must. It's also a must because one of the things that that self-preservation, you must love yourself, you must forgive yourself.
So if it's a must to love
It is
oneself, what
just
are the detriments of not forgiving oneself? What are the negative effects of not loving oneself? You're not audible. Hello, sir. You're not audible. You're not audible. You're not audible.
mm, the negative effect of not loving oneself is that if you don't love yourself, then it's tantamount to deliberate. The person will be involved in deliberate self-harm because if you don't love yourself, that means that you can easily harm. I'm not audible.
We can hear you now.
Yes, can you hear me now? Am I audible? I'm trying to know what is.
Now
I
I
can
can
hear
also
you
hear you.
clearly. I'm
I
trying
can
to see
also hear
what's
you
going on.
loud and clear. Yeah, you're not
Hello,
audible. You are audible.
hello,
You can go on, sir. You
hello,
can go on. Please go on.
hello.
Please go on. Go on.
So
We can't hear you
the
again now.
problem that could arise once
Okay, now we can hear you.
the problem that could arise when someone doesn't love himself, person, if you don't love yourself, then you can't continue to exist because if you don't love yourself, you just have to look for a way to end your miserable life, which is not acceptable, which is not acceptable to anybody. So for any reason, if one doesn't love himself, it can lead to a lot of things. You neglect yourself. You don't take care of yourself. Even the Bible says that it's not just possible for one to love himself and still be existing. When you start loving yourself, you start caring for yourself. You start eating. You stop eating. You stop taking care of that. When all those things are setting, the end point of it is that the person intentionally just want to destroy himself. It will It will end in self-destruction if one does not love himself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I also like to add to that the detrimental effect of not loving yourself could also result to self-rejection when you are supposed to do certain things because you don't accept yourself. There's this that you can have self-rejection, then self-hatred. You can start feeling hatred for yourself because of those things that has happened to you in the past. Then also self-sabotage because you felt you've done something wrong to yourself or to another person. It could also result to self-sabotage. Then now let's look at how can forgiving oneself improve a person's life. When we forgive ourselves, how can that improve the person's life? No, on the journey to self forgiveness, like we said earlier, that you have to accept certain things. Okay, you're back. So we are now on how can forgiving oneself improve a person's life.
Forgiving oneself can actually uh, improve someone's life. Forgiving
Are
oneself.
you on the stream?
Yes, I'm on the stream. I'm on the
Okay.
stream. Forgiving oneself can also can make you to get the best part of your life. You can look behind you. You can look to the past, and from the knowledge of the past, for the mistake made in the past, you can use it to adjust to learn. You can use it to adjust your movement, and also learn on how to improve on your further outcomes. So forgiving yourself has a lot of things to do. So everybody at one point or the other needs to face reality of life and forgive himself or herself is the way to go because it helps you to come out better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, what should be the take home for people on this subject matter, forgiving yourself, as we close the day?
Forgiving yourself, the take home should be that to err is human. So as long as we are in this place, we are human, we'll continue to make mistakes. And no matter the mistakes we've made in the past, we should know that out of the broken pieces of our past, God can actually build an edifice of hope. So hope is not lost. We should try as much as possible, forgive ourselves and forge out so that we can make progress and come out better in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as we close on this conversation, forgiving yourself today, I'm going to leave you with some of these quotes that will help you because I believe you're going to take certain actions that is going to lead to you forgiving yourself on whatsoever you've done to someone, to yourself, or certain things that are happening in your life that you feel you are responsible for, that you're guilty about, that is not making you to move ahead, that is making you to self-sabotage yourself so that you can move on with life. And Pema Cauldron says that having compassion starts and ends with having compassion for all those unwanted parts of yourself. Amelia Macri, your inner critic is simply a part of you that needs more self-love. Jack Connifield, if your compassion does not include yourself, it's incomplete. Tara Brach says that Feeling compassion for ourselves in no way release us from responsibility for our actions. Rather, it releases us from the self-hatred that prevents us from responding to our life with clarity and balance. Then Margaret Angel Rose Macrae says that the supreme act of forgiveness is when you can forgive yourself for all the wounds you have created in your own life. Forgiveness is an act of self-love. When you forgive yourself, self-acceptance begins and self-love grows. And finally, Christian Neff, when we give ourselves self-compassion, we are opening our hearts in a way that can transform our lives. Like I said earlier, I want to believe that you are going to do something that is going to help you in forgiving yourself. Uh, we saw Pastor Sheyi just come live. He's gone. So on this note, we want to say thank you for everyone for being part of the conversation today, forgiving yourself. So let's do this. Okay, let's see if Pastor Sheyi will add something before we go. Pastor Sheyi,
Good evening.
welcome. Good
Well
evening,
done.
sir. Good to have you.
Thank you.
We are just rounding up on the subject matter, forgiving yourself. So we just wanted to give maybe what you want people to take home, your own thoughts on forgiving yourself before we close on today's conversation.
Okay, sorry I've been busy. Forgiving yourself, I think the first most important law after love your God is love yourself and the others. Over time, I discovered that people find it hard to forgive themselves, especially when they feel in their hearts that their sins are grievous. One thing you should understand is you're not the one that owns your life, and you're not the one that determines how grievous your sin could be. So,
Yes.
one of the first most important thing is to forgive yourself and believe that God can forgive you. Over the week I had to counsel somebody, and I know that she had actually attempted suicide. And I
Hmm.
know that that's actually um, just so common around here. People will tell you they have attempted suicide 3 times, and I said,
Hmm.
uh, everybody go through the thought of suicide when they have some major challenges. But
Hmm.
one of the most important things that you do is to tell yourself that, "Hey, as long as I live, I have a purpose to accomplish around in here. Forgive yourself and
Yeah.
move on." And accomplish. Nobody accomplished a purpose inside the grave. Nobody.
Hmm.
So it's important that you get over. Somebody told me she wants to go and fast for 7 days because she had thought of suicide. I said, no, you don't need that. Give yourself enough reason why you must live, and the spirit will
Hmm.
flee you. So it's important that you forgive yourself, and remember, like I said again and again, nobody accomplished their purpose inside the grave. So forgive yourself and move on, and God will also forgive you.
Nobody
That's my
accomplished their purpose in the grave. Wow, that's
nobody.
profound.
Nobody.
Go on, sir.
So relatively, that's it. If you forgive yourself, God will also forgive you, and then you can look back and trace where you went wrong, and try as much as possible to correct it. There is not always another opportunity as long as you are alive. So forgive yourself and move on. There is no two way about it.